Hello, great ones. Welcome to the Live and Be Great podcast. I'm your host, Latanya Sampson McDonald. I am a life coach and a registered marriage and family therapist associate. And this podcast was created to motivate, educate, and inspire all to live and be great. On today's episode, I feel the need. Happy New Year, by the way. Happy New Year. I hope it's amazing in growth and healing, no matter what, for anybody out there. I want to talk about self-esteem today and how it literally is the source of everything. And I just think that's a perfect lesson to talk to you guys about when it comes to this new start this year for you. So let's get to it. Self-esteem. If nobody else tells you, I'm going to tell you. It literally affects every decision, good or bad, that you make for yourself. And that is from anything, like from what you decide to do in relationships, what you decide to do with your career, how you decide to raise your kids, literally everything, your health, how you treat yourself and how you treat other people mainly. It goes back to self-esteem. And the main key here is if you do not love yourself, you can't. Like, it's just, yeah, you may say, oh, I love this person. And, you may say things like, my kids helped me find myself. And I didn't start loving myself until I met my spouse or my life partner or whatever the case may be. But in all actuality, self-esteem has nothing to do with other people, right? It has everything to do with how you feel about yourself in the end. Yeah, early in childhood development, based off of I would say your perception of yourself, your parents do play a big role. How you see them treat themselves and how they treat you, and whether you feel valued or whether you let people take advantage of you or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that can affect it. But at the end of the day, it has to do with your thoughts and your perception of you. Let's bring it to the basics. Let's put it in layman terms. With people that keep up with, I say, celebrities and things of that nature, like different archetypes. Okay? Let's use the Kardashians for an example. Sorry if I trigger anybody. So the Kardashians, but no, they're a really good example because if you got to hear about what Tristan is doing to Khloe, I think this is a very good example. Okay? So when it comes to people that cheat, it is definitely linked to self-esteem. Oftentimes, people that cheat also have sexual trauma, childhood trauma, whether they've normalized it or not, right? And it has nothing, like I said, self-esteem has nothing to do with the person that they're cheating on. Nothing. That person is trying to fill a void that unfortunately all the accolades and all the people they keep sleeping with, all the relationships they destroy, the embarrassment they bring to the family, like they have no concept of that, right? Because like I said before, if they do not love themselves, How can they care about, oh, if this gets out, I may embarrass my, my partner or my child. Oh, I have a little girl or I have a little boy. What type of example am I setting for them? They do not care about themselves. And you've seen it with, Jay-Z and Kevin Hart and them experiencing infidelity. And you see that, based off of European standards, who they're married to, that's the ideal, right? That's the ideal beautiful woman that they're with, right? Top grossing comedian during this time, and top grossing rapper, or whatever the case may be, millionaire, Forbes list, all of that, all of those accolades that they have used to fill that void, right? Even down to the person they decided to marry and have children with, none of that was enough to fill that void. They haven't healed from that trauma. They have no sense of self-love and self-value. So, of course, you're from the outside looking in like, oh my goodness, they have everything. Why would they make this decision? It goes back to them not loving themselves every single time. Yes, the person that cheats has low self-esteem as well as the person that stays. Both of them. Okay? You a billionaire, your wife is a billionaire, millionaire, whatever the case may be, she can have anybody she wants. Anybody. But she's staying with you. No matter how much proof is out there, because y'all looking at these Kardashians, y'all looking at Khloe, and y'all feeling bad for Khloe. Khloe don't love herself. That's it. Right? Also look at the dynamic of what does aid, right? What does aid? Because some things, yes, you can, how you perceive that thought and how people view you, if you're taking that all in and you're using what other people say about you to determine your worth, right? That's on you when you do that. And that also comes from trauma and not healing and how you've seen people, operate in your family system. It comes from that. But also, okay, at the end of the day, it goes back to self. It's always going to go back to self and what you're making a choice to take in as your identity, your value, your self-worth. Okay? Like that, they're a train wreck. There's a lot of train wrecks out here that unfortunately people use them as examples to continue in the foolishness. And the cheat code is, guys, if you've been through any type of trauma, go to therapy. That's the cheat code. All right. Go to therapy, go to some place that feels right. Not somebody that's just going, tell you, ask you how you doing today, and that's it. Because, that part is difficult, finding the right therapist. But the key is that you have to heal from that trauma. You have to work on yourself, right? Or you're going to continue to attract foolishness. And you're going to continue to have this perception that you don't deserve more. It sounds good. You can sit there and you can cry with your homegirls or whoever comments under your post when you profess what you're going through on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, right? It sounds good. Yeah, I know I deserve better. But if you do not truly believe that, if you haven't done the work to get there, you're going to keep attracting the same thing. And at some point, you have to look at the common denominator. And that common denominator is you. Also, the low self-esteem, when you look at your bloodline and you connect it to generational trauma, what you've watched your grandparents go through in their relationships, or your mom or your dad, and things of that nature, the toxic parts, it's always filled with the trauma. Definitely comes from the lack of self love within the family. Okay? Yes, a lot of families, or how you say, going through the motions. It's not real love. Okay? I'm being as honest as possible. I hope I don't go over you guys' head when I say this, but it is not real love. It's masked as that, right? Because we are taught or told what love looks like, or you see a picture with a family smiling, then the next thing you know, that same family is on the news because of a murder suicide, right? There's a lot of families like that. Not saying that they will go to that, not saying all families go to that extent, but there's a lot of families doing that. And when that happens, trauma continues. Cycles are even more and more difficult to break, right? Like when you connect it back to, I'm not sure if I've used this example before, but when you connect it back to the mother that their child was molested, right? And they might hit me with the, well, why she takes so long, or why he takes so long to tell me. Oftentimes, I'm gonna drop this gem for you. Oftentimes, she's responding like that because same thing happened to her. And there's a whole history of generational trauma that includes molestation, of people neglecting and neglecting and neglecting. And what is happening is that resentment from no one protecting them is now showing up in the way they're handling it, from hearing it from their children. Okay. And of course, we can go deeper as to the stuff that makes kids feel unsafe, and that unsafety continues into adulthood when it comes to people that are emotionally just withdrawn, or they hold stuff back and they don't open up. It starts with the childhood, but again, like I said, it does start with that self-love, because how you treat yourself, you're also teaching your child how to treat themselves. And if you don't address your trauma, like, now it's the next generation's job to address theirs, but they have no tools. So you play a role in that with how you treat yourself. You definitely do as a parent. They don't teach you all this stuff, unfortunately. But you know, it's not too late, right? Yeah, you can't get that time back, but you can work on the healing. But like I tell my parents all the time that do come in for family therapy, you are not going to be able to give your child that grace if you can't give yourself that grace. If you can't acknowledge what you went through as a little boy or a little girl, if you can't acknowledge that, right? And start there with the acknowledgement that something happened to you. There's no way. There's no way that you're going to be able to effectively give your child the love and support that they need. It sounds like, oh, I sacrifice everything. Nope. A lot of people just sacrificing to say that they're sacrificing, but aren't really open to doing the real work that it takes to be a truly, fully loving and supporting parent. It takes more work than what you can pass off of what looks like good parenting. It takes way more work than that, because how your children show up in the world will always show you. Even though there are, you might have that one that will be that overachiever, right? But in the end, they're neglecting themselves. So at some point, that trauma of not acting out but suppressing how they really felt is going to show up somewhere. And a lot of times it does show up in their children. Their children will be the one that's acting out, because we've said it all the time on the show. Children are a manifestation of their parents' unresolved issues. So whatever you were feeling, all them times you felt like running away and you didn't, right? Don't be surprised if you never address that. If you never address that trauma you went through, that you get a child that actually does it. Right? You can't try to use, well, I didn't do it and I don't understand why they're not pretending like everything's okay like I did. Because that's really what you want to say, but you shouldn't have had to pretend like everything was okay. Right? That's the truth. And you have to give yourself permission to feel that way. You should not have had to. You had every right to run away, get mad, scream, yell, act out based off of what you went through. You had every right to. And I think that's the part that people are missing. Don't get mad at them because you you decided to pretend. Right? Address it. Address it. If you don't, you're not going to be able to, help your child correct that behavior, and fully get down to the reason why they're running away versus just pretending like everything's okay, or versus you just focusing on what they're doing. No, you got to get to the reason why. And 9 times out of 10, it's connected to what your childhood trauma was that was unaddressed. Okay? But guess what? You ain't going to be willing to do none of this if you don't start that process to love yourself and build your self-worth based off of you and your healing. You're not going to be able to get to any of it, right? And I was watching a reality show, and y'all, reality shows are so fake. Oh, they're so fake, but there's a lot of things that people can't hide, okay? And that is behavior and what the camera actually catches, all right? Regardless of whether you're getting on there and pretending to have beef, it says a lot about a person that will get on television and pretend to have beef with somebody to get camera time and to get a check. It still says a lot about that person and how they value themselves. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, oh, this person went to therapy on the show, but listening to their language, you got people going to therapy on the show just for that episode. It's not a continuation because it's a based off of their behavior. And I hate that that's like that, because you have people thinking that this person has a life coach or this person goes to therapy and they've done the work, but their behavior is the same. So now it's looking like the process doesn't work. Okay. Oh, I'm so happy if you watch reality TV and you're getting to listen to this episode. Okay. So you have clarity. Don't believe the hype. When you decide to do your work on yourself and truly heal, okay, and you have the right life coach or the right therapist to help you through it, it's going to show, and you're going to be able to point out all the people that's faking it. You are. You really, really are. And like I said, back to self-esteem. It's all back to self-esteem. And the reason why I like to use, celebrities and things of that nature, or, personal stories, is so that you guys can relate to it. So I can hopefully say something that you can see that relates to it. say somebody that is beautiful, right? Elizabeth Taylor had multiple husbands and boyfriends and cheated on this one and did all of that, right? Beautiful lady, but I'm sorry, that's somebody that did not love themselves. They didn't. Not to say that, okay, she has to be, married to one person for the rest of their lives, but based off of the drugs and the violence and all those other things that were intertwined in her celebrity and in her life story, that was a little girl that was acting out, that did not love herself. And I think one of the hardest things is that if you're the picture perfect image on the outside of what people want to be, the scariest part is people saying that and you never feeling that you're everything. That's the scary part. Okay? You don't want to get there. You don't want to you don't want to have all these accolades and all these accomplishments and get to the point to where you still feel like nothing because you've been using that all along, the outside stuff, to determine your value and your self-worth. You do not want to get there. It is a scary place. Sounds good, right? Millionaire, got all the money, house, cars, kids, spouse. Sounds great. But I've said it before, like, it's a scary place to be. It really is. When you do not love yourself. And it's like that because if this has defined you and you get to the point to where that from the outside looking in, you have it all, you will feel the deepest despair and the deepest helplessness because you've ran out of things to make you happy and you've lost yourself. That's not what you want. Now, back to other ways that it affects everything. The company you keep and what you have to go through also says a lot about how you feel about yourself. Okay? If you got jealous people around you, if you have people that don't really support you, that aren't really encouraging, that are toxic, and you keep them around just because they've been there for so long, even though you don't feel good around them and you don't get any sense of joy. It's just okay, I have friends just to say I have friends type of mentality, or I'm around my family because, I love family, or I think I love family. And it just looks good to be around them for the holidays or any time or whatever the case may be when they're toxic. That is not good. It's not good that you're continuing to have people to around you that basically draw out all the goodness. You don't set up good boundaries for yourself when you aren't appreciated or you feel disrespected. You don't stand up for yourself, and that's not a good life to live. And I know everybody knows somebody who lived their life like that, and you want to give them this title of being selfless, but oh my, like, imagine all the things they gave up that was a part of them just to fit that type of mold. It had nothing to do with them. They been threw away themselves or gave up on themselves when it comes to what they truly deserved to have in their space. There's so many people that get married, have a big wedding party, and they don't even talk to those people anymore. So many. Okay? So many. It was just a show Just a show, just a big show, because we were taught that it's supposed to look this way, right? People going into debt, throwing these big weddings and getting divorces. And it's like, was it all worth it just to keep up a look for something that wasn't real? I think that's the part that people are missing. And like I said, it goes back to how you feel about self. It can even make you a toxic person to be around when, you're watching people accomplish things and you can't even be happy for them. And you're accomplishing things as well. But like I said, you don't have that self-love and that self-value and that healing going on within yourself. You don't even appreciate the stuff that you have overcome or that you've accomplished in your life. You don't even appreciate the stuff. So you're sitting there jealous and resentful simply because you don't even know if you want what your friends have. You don't even know. But just because they have it and you don't, you want it. Like, that's how weak it can be. You know how many people have toxic relationships and they just continue to put up with it. They just continue to put up with it just so they can say they have somebody. That's not life. That's not greatness. It isn't. Okay? Y'all have to love yourselves. If not, you become a liability. You become toxic. And even though your intentions may be to help people, you only end up hurting yourself in the process and hurting the people around you. Okay? But y'all don't have to listen to me. You don't. Because just because I'm saying it and it sounds good and it might resonate within you, I know there's a lot of people also that will fight to stay in toxicity. They'll fight to stay there because it's the devil that they know. And they're so afraid. They're way more afraid of their greatness and their potential than they are of the toxicity that they're in. I've seen it. I don't know if you all have seen the bodybuilder that was recorded assaulting his wife, and it's on camera, and you see him picking up chairs, weights, all sorts of things, and throwing it on his little petite girlfriend at the time, and went to court to trial. And the girl, by the time it was sentencing, I think sentencing took like a year or whatnot. The girl had married him. Same girl everybody watched get brutalized on that home video cam married the guy. Okay? Listen. I don't know if you guys have seen Made on Netflix, but that's usually how it goes. They usually go back multiple times. But this young lady, everybody could witness it. And she decided to marry him. She decided to get on the stand so that he wouldn't have to go to jail and say, oh, I know he's changed and he really does love me. He's gone to anger management. I'm telling y'all right now, I've never seen them stop hitting the person that they've hit. Never. I've seen them get married to other people and never hit them. But at some point, that person is now a trigger. And you've already done the lowest of the low to them. So anything can take them back there into that abuse. So to watch her up there Like I said, somebody who would do that to his family, to the person he loves, the mother of his children, does not love himself. Okay? And someone that would marry somebody that would do that to them and has millions of witnesses now because it was on camera does not love themselves and can't possibly, like, she can't even think about what her children with him will now be forever traumatized looking at. She married him, right? Look at the connection. Look at the connection of that abuse. That does not scream of anyone in that situation that loves themselves. So she can't perform true acts of love for her kids if they were risking seeing that happen again by her marrying him. No, that's not love. It isn't. It's not possible. Okay? So we got to tell the truth. We got to remove the lies and the myths. If you do not love yourself, you cannot love anyone else. I don't care who it is. And yes, you may be in a relationship now, right? Yeah, my advice, go ahead, give it a shot. Go to individual therapy, both of you, and see if you can create something new with people who actually love themselves and see if y'all still fit together. I think that's the best way to go. So a lot of y'all then got married without truly healing and loving yourself because you didn't know you had to. And you thought if you performed well enough, subconsciously you thought if you performed well enough, it looks like love to everybody else, so it must be. It's not. Okay? It ain't. It isn't. I'm telling you it's not. Right? So work on yourself and see if you make it and see if you attract what you need. Because I'm not sure if I told you guys my love story, but until I decided to choose, I'm a mess. And still, until I decided to choose myself, I did not meet my husband. Like when I was like, I don't care about getting married, I don't care about kids, nothing. I just want to choose me and go after what I want. That's when I was aligned with who my husband was. And it's still a work in progress. Like, you also have to remind yourself to continue to love you and put you first no matter what. It's an ongoing love story with you and your healing process. But you got to start it. Okay? You want something true, you want something genuine, you have to start that process and stop pretending. Okay? So that is it for today's episode. I want to thank you all again for joining me. I'm not sure what version of this I want to put on the Patreon, but if you haven't signed up for the Patreon, please go ahead. There's already great material there and great material coming. The link will be in the description. All right. I have so many things coming up for you all. If you want to support anything that I'm doing, I have just about every platform is under Live and Be Great, which you'll hear in the ending credits. But yes, please go and sign up for the Patreon. You won't be disappointed. Lots of good stuff, lots of goodies over there. And I want to thank you all for listening. I really, really do. I really, really, really do. And I want you to love yourself. And I want you to live and be great. All right? See you in 2 weeks. Bye. The Live and Be Great podcast will be airing every other Friday. If you have truly enjoyed this podcast, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving Live and Be Great a chance. Please feel free to share, like, give a review, subscribe on whichever platform that you're listening to right now, on iTunes or Apple Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, as well as Google Play. The Live and Be Great podcast is strictly crowdfunded, so if you are interested in becoming a supporter, you can click the link in the description, or you can go to liveandbegreat.com and scroll to the bottom and donate to the Live and Be Great podcast today, so I can continue to give you good and motivational content. Thank you all for listening, and don't forget to give yourself permission to live and be great.